They say a home tells the story of a life. If that's true, then Janet's apartment is a novel with too many chapters left open. Every shelf holds a memory, every drawer a piece of her heart. But lately, she's realized, some stories need to be closed so others can be told. Janet is 70 now. She's retired, content most days, but there's one thing that keeps her restless. The clutter that has quietly filled every corner of her city apartment. It's not just stuff, it's time made visible. The coffee mugs from friends who've moved away. The Christmas cards from people she no longer hears from. The coat that once belonged to her late husband, David. And next week, her daughter, Emily, is coming to visit. That visit is what sparked everything. Janet looked around and thought, what will Emily see when she walks in? Will she see warmth or chaos? A life well lived, or a home buried under memories that should have been let go years ago? That thought was enough to start a quiet storm inside her, the kind every senior knows all too well. A mix of pride, fear, and nostalgia. So, Janet made a promise to herself. Before next week's visit, she would finally declutter. Not just to tidy her home, but to breathe again. But where do you even begin when every item feels like part of your story? This is where her journey, and yours, truly begins. If you've ever stood in the middle of your living room, wondering how you got surrounded by things you no longer use but can't seem to throw away, this video is for you. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we're done, you'll have the only decluttering checklist you'll ever need. And trust me, once you start, you'll feel a freedom you haven't felt in years. So, take a deep breath, grab a cup of tea, and let's step into Janet's world. It started on a quiet Tuesday morning. Janet woke up, sunlight spilling through the blinds, cutting across the dust particles that danced lazily in the air. She looked around, the living room, the kitchen counter, the hallway, and whispered to herself, today's the day. Her checklist wasn't just about cleaning. It was about letting go. The first rule she set for herself was simple: start small. She chose the kitchen drawer, the one every home seems to have. You know the one. Pens that don't work, receipts from a decade ago, batteries that may or may not be dead. As she sorted through it, Janet realized something powerful. It wasn't the drawer she was afraid of. It was the decisions. Every choice felt like a question of who she was still holding on to. Have you ever felt that way? Standing there with something in your hand, asking yourself, should I keep this? Will I regret it if I don't? If you've ever hesitated, you're not alone. And that's where the first part of the checklist begins, the emotional items rule. If something brings you sadness, guilt, or stress when you see it, it's time to let it go. You deserve a home filled with peace, not pressure. Janet set aside the things that truly mattered: her wedding photo, her favorite tea set, her small collection of handwritten letters. The rest went into a box labeled release. That one word, release, became her anchor. It reminded her that letting go isn't losing. It's choosing what stays close to your heart. As the hours passed, Janet moved on to her closet. This was harder. Each dress, each coat, had its own memory stitched into the fabric. She pulled out a bright red scarf and smiled. It had been a gift from her best friend, Carol, who passed away 5 years ago. Janet held it close, whispered, "Thank you," and then folded it neatly into a memory box. She didn't throw it away, she honored it. Because decluttering isn't about erasing the past. It's about giving it a proper place. And that's where many seniors go wrong. They think decluttering means forgetting. But it's actually about remembering intentionally. If this part hits home, let us know in the comments. How do you handle sentimental items? Do you keep them, donate them, or find creative ways to repurpose them? Because sharing helps more than you think, not just you, but someone else watching right now who needs that same nudge to begin. By midday, Janet had filled 3 boxes, one for donation, one for recycling, and one for memories. She felt lighter already, but as she sat down to rest, she caught herself thinking, what if Emily doesn't even notice? What if none of this matters? That's when the second rule came to her. Don't declutter for others. Declutter for you. It's tempting to want approval, from children, visitors, even neighbors. But at the end of the day, it's your home, your comfort, your peace. So if you've ever said, "I'll clean up before they visit," flip that thought. Do it because you deserve to walk into your home and feel calm. Janet smiled at that thought. She turned on her favorite jazz playlist, made herself a sandwich, and went right back at it. That's when she faced the next challenge: paper clutter. Bills, bank statements, insurance forms, medical reports, you name it. Stacks that seem harmless until they multiply. Here's a tip from Janet's checklist. If it's over 2 years old and not a legal or sentimental document, shred it. She laughed as she read an old grocery list from 2014. Why was she still keeping that? Because deep down, it reminded her of the days when David was alive. They'd shop together every Sunday, always forgetting the same items. She smiled, took a photo of it with her phone, and then let it go. That's the secret. When it feels too hard to throw something away, capture it digitally. You can revisit it anytime, without filling your shelves with paper. Hours turned into evening, and for the first time in years, Janet could see the surface of her coffee table. She poured herself another cup of tea and looked around. The apartment felt different. Not empty, just peaceful. And here's where the FOMO comes in. Because if you're watching this and haven't started yet, you're missing out on something incredible. The joy of walking into a home that reflects who you are now, not who you were. Don't wait for next week's visit to start. Do it today. Even if you only clear one drawer, one shelf, that's enough. Progress, not perfection. As the night settled, Janet wrote down her final thought of the day. Home isn't what you keep, it's what keeps you. She pinned that note to her fridge as a reminder. Tomorrow, she'd tackle the sentimental shelf, the hardest part. The photos, the keepsakes, the mementos from her travels. But tonight, she rested, proud, calm, and ready. And you? You can do the same. Stick around for part 2, where Janet discovers the one thing most seniors forget to declutter, and it's not physical at all. Morning sunlight crept through Janet's curtains like a gentle promise. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her shoulders, the kind that comes from a long life well lived and, lately, a lot of bending and sorting. But there was something new in her chest today: lightness. She walked through the apartment in her slippers, smiling at how open the rooms felt. Less clutter, more calm. The air even seemed to move differently, as if the walls were breathing again. Today was her final stretch. The sentimental shelf, the one she'd avoided for years. Framed photos, a stack of travel souvenirs, a crystal figurine David had won at the fair the summer they got engaged. Each one whispered, "Remember me?" Janet sat down, took a deep breath, and said aloud, "Okay, let's make space for peace." She decided to follow her next checklist rule: keep the memory, not the object. For every item she picked up, she paused, smiled, and asked herself, does this still tell my story, or is it time to close this chapter? She took photos of the ones she didn't want to forget and then carefully placed them in a box for donation. The box wasn't heavy, but her heart felt full. Because sometimes freedom feels like letting go without guilt. If you're watching this, think about one object in your home that brings you both warmth and weight. Would taking a photo be enough to keep the story alive? If yes, you already know your next step. And if you feel that tug in your chest right now, hit the like button. It tells Janet and every other senior watching that you understand exactly how hard this part can be. As she continued, Janet found an envelope with her mother's handwriting on it. Faded, elegant cursive. Inside was a small note. "Remember to live light, my girl." Janet smiled through her tears. Her mother had written that when she moved to the city decades ago. Now, the message felt prophetic. "Live light," she whispered. "That's what this whole week has been about." She pinned the note beside her fridge list. 2 simple reminders. Live light. Home isn't what you keep, it's what keeps you. By afternoon, Janet was down to her final category, the invisible kind of clutter. Emails she'd ignored, notifications she never read, the mental to-do lists that stole her sleep. Because decluttering isn't just physical, it's emotional, digital, and spiritual. She sat with her tablet, deleting old messages, unsubscribing from things that no longer brought joy, and saying a quiet thank you for the memories they represented. Then she opened a new note and typed, "New beginnings start with small endings." If you've ever felt overwhelmed, here's a truth. Clearing your space clears your mind. And the more peace you make outside, the more peace you feel inside. So, don't wait until next week's visit, or next month's project, or when you have time. Start tonight. Even if it's just deleting one email, letting go of one thought, or saying goodbye to one thing that no longer serves you. That's how transformation begins. When evening came, Janet brewed her favorite chamomile tea and sat by the window. The city lights twinkled, but her focus was on the warmth inside her apartment. Her phone buzzed. It was Emily. "Mom, I can't wait to see you next week. Don't stress about the apartment, okay? I just want to spend time with you." Janet smiled. Little did Emily know, this wasn't about stress. It was about starting fresh. She replied, "You'll see a new version of me, Em. I promise." And that's when it hit her, the last item on her checklist: declutter your expectations. So many seniors carry silent pressure. To be perfect hosts, to hold everything together, to never let anyone see the cracks. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is show up as you are. Loved. Human. Enough. As the night deepened, Janet looked around at her apartment one last time. The surfaces were clear. The air was light. But most of all, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: proud. She whispered to herself, "This isn't the end of something. It's the beginning." And maybe you're watching this, sitting in your own living room, thinking, "That's exactly what I need." Then let Janet's story be your spark. Start small. One drawer, one shelf, one moment of courage. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to begin. Because next week's visit might not just be a family visit. It might be the moment you finally see your home and your life in a brand new way. So here's your simple version of the only decluttering checklist seniors need before next week's visit. Keycap 1: Start small, just one area today. Keycap 2: Release emotional items that bring guilt or stress. Keycap 3: Keep memories, not objects. Take photos, then let go. Keycap 4: Declutter for you, not for others. Keycap 5: Don't forget the invisible clutter: digital, emotional, mental. Keycap 6: And finally, declutter expectations. By the end of the week, when Emily knocked on Janet's door, she gasped, "Mom, your place looks beautiful." Janet laughed softly. "It's not the apartment that changed," she said. "It's me." Emily hugged her, and in that small, quiet moment, every box, every drawer, every goodbye suddenly felt worth it. Because what Janet had really made space for wasn't just a cleaner home, it was connection. And that's the real goal of every reset. To clear what no longer serves you so love and life can move freely again. So, if this story touched you, take a moment. Click like to show Janet you're starting too. Comment below with the one thing you're finally ready to release. And if you want to keep finding peace in small, powerful steps, subscribe to Reset for Seniors and tap that bell so you don't miss the next story. Because tomorrow's video might be the one that changes how you see your home and your heart forever. Until then, remember Janet's words. Live light. Home isn't what you keep, it's what keeps you.